far you have come on your own, but never alone. Through the rain and through the shine, here's your moment, it's your time. You stood tall and now you see, standing in your destiny. 100 women growing strong. 100 women where you belong. You stood tall and now you see, you have reached your destiny. Woman, woman.
As people of African descent, we offer this land recognition in solidarity with the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island in the efforts and deliberate intentions toward decolonization. As people of African descent, we acknowledge the land of Turtle Island that sustains us, express deep gratitude to its indigenous peoples, and pledge to honor our dignity and divinity that ultimately connects us all. By Kay Johnson. Welcome to 100 ABC Fireside Chats. 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women is a bold project initiated by co-authors and co-founders, the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, Dr. Denise O'Neill Green, and Donna Jones Simmons. Our mission is to celebrate and archive the professional accomplishments of trailblazing Black women from all across Canada. The goal is to create an ever-expanding database available for current and future generations via print media, public and private libraries, as well as our website, which is www.100abcwomen.ca. In addition to our fireside chats on topics that matter to our communities, such as education, healthcare, entertainment, creative arts, trade union, and so much more, we offer biennial book launching galas and biannual symposiums. The co-authors and co-founders would like to take this opportunity to thank each of you for attending today's fireside chat. We know that you will find these sessions educational and inspirational. So sit back, relax, and hear from our brilliant and talented honorees. Good day, everyone. I'm Donna Jones Simmons, co-author, co-founder, and the architect of the 100 ABC Women project, as well as the executive producer of our fireside chats. Special thanks to our incredible technical support team, our moderator and panelists, who are the drivers behind our weekly inspirational conversations. Let me now turn you over to our moderator, who will introduce herself to you, as well as today's topic. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Sunday. So happy that you could all be here to join us this afternoon. My name is Takia Wedderburn. I will be your moderator for this afternoon's fireside chat session. And our session today is going to be on the benefits of a hobby. So I will just start by introducing our wonderful panelists that are here to join us this afternoon. So firstly, we have on our panel, we have Miss Lorna Luby. And Lorna, after 37 years in education, Miss Luby Cross retired in 2018 as a vice principal from the Toronto District School Board. Currently, Miss Luby Cross uses some of her time to serve as an education advisor at Youth Association for Academics, Athletics, and Character Education, which is a nonprofit organization housed in the Humber River, Black Creek, Jane and Finch community committed to minimizing the inequality of opportunity impacting Black children, youth, and families. She also continues to support principals in various secondary schools at Toronto District Schools as a casual administrator. Ms. Luby Cross is also currently helping young women. She helps her mentees to set goals, build leadership capacity, expand networks, and purpose opportunities to get mentorship from people in their fields of interest. Ms. Luby Cross believes that having a hobby builds character. She said, I grew up in a household with a strong work ethic and a sense of industry. Pastime in the home was a productive leisure. She links her past to her future by drawing on a hobby she developed in childhood. As an artisan, she created a startup, one-of-a-kind business, LLC Dolls, creating from textiles dolls with impeccable quality and detail. There are many children in the Greater Toronto Area and North America currently playing with treasuring her handcrafted dolls. Each doll is inspired by the individual child's unique character traits, and each doll is created with the likeliness of the child for whom it is made. So the next panelist that we have this afternoon is Miss Donna Jones-Simmons. Donna is the co-founder, co-author of 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women, also the executive producer of the Fireside Chats, and she's been recently nominated as the first Black VP for the Rotary Club of Toronto, where she will ascend to be president in 2025. So welcome to all of our panelists this afternoon. So happy that you could be here and you could join us for this afternoon's very, very exciting topic, as we're going to be talking about the benefits of having a hobby. So just to get things started, I wanted to start with you, Lorna. So the question that I have for you, Lorna, is why is it important to start cultivating a hobby at an early age?
I believe that it's important to start cultivating a habit at a very, very early age because it helps one to focus on an interest. And also, I actually started cultivating my hobby at about 9 years of age. And it helped to center me. The hobby that I cultivated at a very early age was sewing. Of course, reading was one of them too, but sewing was my go-to. And it helped me to focus. It helped me with relaxation and also a sense of self-esteem. It felt great at the end of the day when I completed a task or a project and I had a finished product and people commented on it, and it helped build my sense of worth, my sense of esteem and self-confidence. I felt good about what I did.
Wonderful, wonderful. And actually, for all of our viewers this afternoon, we actually have a short clip just to demonstrate one of Lorna's hobbies, as she mentioned, a hobby that she started at the very young age of 9 years old. So we'll just go ahead and show our viewers what that hobby looks like and where that passion has really taken her. Wow, that is absolutely wonderful, Lorna. And just for
Now,
our viewers, go ahead.
to be clear, I actually did not start making dolls until a few years ago, because actually I was sewing. I learned to sew at the age, I had a tiny little sewing machine my mother bought me as a gift. So at the age of 9, I was sewing little doll clothes to my sisters. I actually wasn't physically actually making the dolls until, as I said, later on in life. After I retired, I thought, oh, I'm here. I've got lots of time. What should I do every day? So the first thing I did was started sewing, and I thought, oh, I started making stuff for myself. So, oh, well, I have nowhere to wear this. I no longer work. So let me stop sewing clothes for myself. And then I thought, oh, okay, I could look into making dolls, because that looked like a fun thing to do. And I did. So I actually started making dolls just a few years ago. The clothing and the reason why it was easy for me to start making the dolls is because I already I already mastered the skill of sewing. So it was an easy transition to go from sewing to actually just sewing clothing to actually making dolls from scratch. All I had was a piece of fabric and some yarn. And there, at the end of the day, the dolls were created.
Wow, that is absolutely wonderful. And I like the fact that, as you mentioned, Lorna, you started sewing when you were 9 years old, and how it's really sort of developed over the years into something that you didn't know at the time would then become your passion. But I think just over the years, you turn that into a passion. And look at that now. Now you have your own line of dolls. And for our viewers that are watching, is there a website where they can find the dolls?
My website isn't active currently, but I do have Instagram. So yeah, so I do have, it's LLC Dolls with Heart on Instagram.
Okay, very nice, very nice. Yeah, so to all of our viewers that are watching, make sure you check out her Instagram to find out some more about her dolls. So we're going to move along to our next panelist, which is Donna. So Donna, hi, good afternoon. So my first question for you, Donna, is how has gardening become a passion of yours?
Yes, I shared with you that I love gardening. That was not how I started out with a hobby. just for the record. I bought my house 30-something years ago, and it was just grass. And my sisters, who are avid gardeners, 2 of whom have passed away, they kept saying, you've got to have a garden. I'm going, that's work. They kept saying, you've got to have a garden. I said, that's work. I learned something interesting, that if it's work, it's not a hobby. If it's fun, it's a hobby. Anyway, I indulged. So I started off with a hedge. And so after I started the hedge, I said, maybe I can have flowers now. And they always went to Sheraton Gardens to buy the flowers. Got a really good price, and they dragged me along, and I went. That is how I got into gardening, because their gardens looked beautiful. No two ways about it. So I got into gardening that way. I was inspired by my sisters. All 3 of my sisters who lived in Canada, all were avid gardeners. So that inspired me.
Wow, absolutely wonderful, Donna. And I think you definitely give hope to hopefully our viewers at home that maybe have been thinking about getting into gardening, but they're not too sure. I know that for me, the very thought, I'm not a homeowner quite yet, but I know that day when that does happen, just the very thought of having to take care of a garden just seems very overwhelming. I'm not sure if I'm the only person that feels overwhelmed by having to take care and manicure a lawn and all of that. It just seems like a lot of responsibilities. And as with Lorna, we do have a video, a short little slideshow clip. We can show our viewers at home what Donna's garden, what it looks like now.
Yes, it wasn't that way 15 years ago. I started my gardening 2001, and I lived in my house in 1987. So you go figure with the numbers.
Yes.
But I wanted to inspire everyone that once you start, you can't stop.
Yeah, I can imagine. And also too, I'm sure as well with, you're having your neighbors, maybe you had some neighbors that were a bit more into gardening at that time before you got in.
They certainly weren't. They certainly weren't.
Okay.
And that's why I guess I didn't do anything.
Okay.
But then they have now been inspired.
Very nice. Very nice. So we'll get to the slideshow if we can share the screen, and we'll just take a look at Donna's beautiful garden.
So here's where I started, or 10 years later, here's what it looks like in my backyard, maintaining it. I love hydrangeas, one of my favorite flowers, actually. And I use a lot of grass. Here, my flowers into the front. I love sedums. I love hydrangeas, very hardy, very easy to keep, very easy to maintain. The rabbits don't love it that much. And there's my hedge that I started off with. Some more sedums. And you see those pink roses are called carpet roses, very resistant. And you know what? My deer love it too. The deer come in and they just sit there and love it. So what inspired me as well was the fact that I get recognized for my garden in my city of Richmond Hill. So here's one of my recognition awards, and I've been getting that since 2001 to this date. So 20-something years later, isn't that inspirational enough?
Yes, that is wonderful. And I have a question for you, another question for you, Donna. How many hours would you say that you dedicate, let's just say roughly like per day or per week, that you dedicate to taking care of your garden?
When I first started, it was a lot of work, because here's the thing, Takia. I started with an annual garden, and people who know annual, they would tell you better go perennial. Have a perennial garden. So I started off with an annual garden, and every year I would have to be feeding them, planting them, destroying them, etc. Then I got a little wise and said, this is not making enough sense to me. I'm going with a perennial garden. And so I began to buy things like sedum, low maintenance, very hardy. I went with the carpet roses. It would give you a lot of flowers, and they flower a lot. And they flower for a long period of time. So from about June through November, I have flowers in my garden, low maintenance. So yes, it started off with a lot of work, and that's why I hated it initially. But since become a self-maintenance garden, not a lot of work. So initially I would spend a good 2 hours per day setting up my garden for the whole duration of the planting season or flower season.
Yeah,
but it's not too bad anymore.
Yeah, I think that definitely gives a lot of our viewers some hope, because I know oftentimes when it comes to hobbies, I know a lot of people that I've spoken to over the years, when it comes to a hobby, they often think, oh, well, having a hobby is they feel like it's very time consuming. And I know that often can be what may turn certain people off from having a hobby, is they feel like, oh, there's not enough time in the day to really dedicate to having a hobby. So thank you for giving us that hope, Donna.
Yes.
That having a hobby doesn't have to take a whole lot of time and dedication, and it really just starts with just starting small. So definitely.
But if hobby does take time, it's always productive and it's fun time that you're spending with the hobby, and I find it's enjoyable. It's my time to relax. My hobby is my time to feel comfortable, relaxed, at peace, as well as productive. So yeah, even if it's time consuming, at the end, it's just a great way to spend your day, your afternoon, your time.
Yes, absolutely. So we have another panelist here, Brenda Williams. So I just want to just introduce Brenda. So Brenda is the founder and executive director of New Life Project Incorporated. She's also a translator from French to English. Brenda is passionate about reaching out to women and youth, developing their lives and making a difference with agape love through mentoring and building of self-worth and self-esteem. Brenda also created the New Life Women's World Forum for women in North America to have a safe place for discussions on topics that educate and empower women for their next step in fulfilling their dreams. From Canada, she has sponsored several women and children educational and rehabilitation programs. She has established the New Life Design as a channel of education about the Black culture and its values through crafts and fashion, and the New Life French tutoring to help her participants learn French. She recently founded Victoire Consulting, a translation, tutoring, and decoration company. Her experience working with women and youth over the years has helped her to relate with residents in the Ottawa community, as she is determined to see women rise to a place of accomplishment and establish their own business as entrepreneurs. Brenda presently runs a vocational training in sewing, fashion and design, and entrepreneurship program so that women can acquire skills and set up their home-based businesses. In 2020, she was one of the honorees of the 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women, received Leadership Award from the Black History Ottawa in 2021, RBC Women of Influence nominee in 2022, and African Canadian Association of Ottawa Community Award in 2018. Together, she believes we can make a difference. So I would like to welcome Brenda to our conversation. Welcome, Brenda. Thank you for being here this afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So I want to go into a question that I have for you, Brenda. So can you tell us how you found your main hobby?
Yeah, thanks, Donna, for this invitation. Thanks, everyone listening, for attending. You know, hobbies, definitely we all know is anything you do and you derive pleasure, makes you relax, for fun at times, but even though you have project hobbies, casual hobbies, different kinds of hobbies. So, and it's more or less it's kind of a day-to-day activities you do, and there's just one stands out, that whenever you do that thing, you're like feeling fulfilled, you know? So, and we all know hobby is very important in everybody's life. So one of the things when I was growing up as a child, I went to a private school by God's grace, and I realized that they were very, you know, in terms of hobby and things like creativity was one of the main thing that particular principal liked. She believed that kids should be busy with their hands and their, you know, minds and everything, not the iPad. Trust me, those days it was not iPad. So she always made sure in a curriculum we had like crafts. I mean, like anything to do with crafting, painting. We even did tie and dye in school. We did sewing. Imagine from maybe something like grade 6, we were actually sewing, you know, just with hand sewing by then and stuff like that. So I really noticed that I was good when it comes to crochet. So crochet was my favorite by then. So my crochet teacher was very interesting person. In fact, she took it so serious that, you know, back home, you get some whooping when you make too many mistakes. That's how serious she was about crochet. So, and I realized I was good at that. So that kind of instilled the love for, and the other thing also I noticed whilst I was crocheting, we did this as competition. We even have a competition, everybody close their eyes and see who does it faster or finish on time. I noticed that I derived not only a pleasure in it, but I was relaxed. You know, that childhood agitation is like, and she had a way of putting us together in a circle, you know what I mean? And putting a lovely, quiet music, and just, that was our way to just calm the kids down instead of running around. So I noticed that, first of all, that I love working with my hands. So there I knew I had a passion, or I had a love for just creating. And at home, I would always come home and find something to do with my hands. So my mom was like, don't cut another paper, don't touch my stuff. You know, so, and at that point, yeah, I got to realize that I have a passion, which was for creativity with my hands. So I knew it was my hands. And then moving on in life, I started building up with, you know, learning to do simple things. And I felt like I was good at it. I was actually good at it, and I could do it without stress. So that was one way, because one thing about hobby that you can also turn to profession, you can turn to business. Anything you do that it's relaxing, it's fun, and you can do it less without stress. And that's how I found my creativity as a hobby. And as life goes on, I decided to invest in some other things I'll do. So like sewing, tie and dye, crafting, anything, for fun, making it, giving out to people before I finally realized that, oh, I can make some money out of this. Yeah.
That's wonderful, Brenda. Thank you. And I like what you said about turning your hobby into a business. I think oftentimes, I think hobbies often, I believe they do get overlooked. And there's a real stigma that, a hobby can't turn into a business. But I like that you highlighted that absolutely, that, if you do have a hobby, you can definitely turn that into a business. Once you have, as you said, you have the passion and you realize that it is very calming and very therapeutic for you, that, you can definitely take that hobby and just run with it. So I do encourage all of our viewers at home that, if you do have a particular hobby that maybe you've been, maybe it hasn't been, you haven't been dedicating a whole lot of time to it, but you're sort of on the fence, should I turn this into a hobby that I can maybe invest a little bit more time into? I think, as Brenda said, you could definitely potentially turn that into a business if it's a passion that you really want to get into. So I do want to. Yeah, go ahead.
I noticed that during the pandemic, there were a tremendous amount of people who, because they had all that downtime, who actually began hobbies that now are successful businesses. And there's nothing like creating something that you love or engaging in an activity you love, and then turning that into a business, turning that into making money, funds for yourself, for your family. It is amazing because you're doing something every day that puts a smile on your face and you're making money from it. It's nothing better than that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've come across quite a few people, especially during the pandemic, because we had all of this, free time on our hands and trying to keep ourselves busy and not going stir crazy at home during the lockdown, that really just, a few things that they had on their to-do list that they were passionate about. And because they had some extra time, they were really able to dedicate that. And a few of, colleagues of mine, friends, have now actually turned that into a business. So I think that is definitely very inspirational, that it is very possible as long as you are passionate and you are dedicated. So absolutely.
So the hobbies did not cure the pandemic, but it cured the boredom and a lot of the downtime, the loneliness that many people felt. So it was.
Yes, absolutely.
Say something interesting that Brenda spoke about, that as a child she began at school learning to do crochet and all that good stuff. And I find it interesting because you don't realize how they're steering you, or you being steered into something bigger and better. You may have resisted it as a child,
Yes.
but you develop some skills, some knowledge that is like the most, it's just happening to you. You don't realize that this has a bigger impact. And as Lorna indicated, could turn it into a business. Many kids have shown where they're just busy making lemonade and selling lemonade. It's a little hobby for them, making a lemonade and selling it. So then they become business people. So there's something bigger in the future for these little quote hobbies. But they loved it. That's important.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I want to add something also, if you don't mind, is that I also realized well, it's a little bit different with resumes here. But one other thing, when I was back in my country of origin, or even in where I worked in Cote d'Ivoire at a point in time, there were employers always looking for hobbies at the end of your resume. Because nobody want to employ somebody who doesn't have a hobby, right? Because then you used to be so stressed at work, and it's like, there's no fun time in your life. It's it's scary. The stress you bring home. So I remember one of the ways we wrote our resume was at the end, you have to have hobby and volunteer work.
I
They want to see
agree.
what you like doing.
I agree. You've got to have a balance in
Yeah.
life. Yeah, I help recruit people, and those are things we often look for. What else? What else is there to this person besides work, work, work? So what
Yeah.
can they bring to the organization as a result of these
Yes.
extra skills they acquire through hobbies or volunteerism, etc. So I totally agree.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think, and I also to just to add to that is that I think a lot of employers now, especially after the pandemic, are really looking for employees that can, as you said, Donna, to provide that balance. So they want to know, besides, the actual job position that you're applying for, they want to know, what else do you do in your pastime? And it's interesting because I remember participating in I think it was a workshop, and that was actually one of the questions where we kind of went around in a circle and asked, and the amount of people that were actually, they were lost for words. They're like, oh, what is my hobby? Right. So a lot of people, I think, may not even realize that certain activities that they're engaging in are actually hobbies, or they don't see it as a hobby. Right. And, if you are interviewing with a specific employer and they may ask, how do you provide, a balance, how do you take care of yourself? How do you ensure that your mental health and your well-being is taken care of? And really the importance of having a balance of, not just work, but also having a hobby or some kind of extracurricular activity that you're also involved in is extremely important. So my next question is for Lorna. So Lorna, my question for you is, what are the far-ranging benefits of engaging in hobbies?
We talked about well-being, we talked about mental health, the sense of peace and ease most people feel after engaging or during the process of engaging in hobbies. But I want to look at the young people, because those are the people I still work with for most of my life. And I really feel that we have to it's really incumbent upon us to help the young people find what they're good at. Like, ask them, watch them. Maybe sometimes the young people cannot articulate what they really are interested in, what they're good at. But if we watch what they're doing, we can find what that is for, help them find that, and help them to engage in a hobby. And when they engage in a hobby, it has many benefits for them. First of all, we get them off screens, which is a real problem for young people now because they're so drawn to screens. We get them into extracurricular activities that later on helps them build social skills, engage with people in the community, engage with their peers as well as others. More importantly, it helps them to, I find that when young people get involved in hobbies or extracurricular, it helps them with their academic. So it has a broad ranging, aspect their way, where the more they're engaged in other activities, and helps them to open their minds a little bit, it helps them to relax, and it also translates into them doing better at school. When they get to colleges or university, very important. Universities no longer only want students to enter to just have great academics. They also expect them to do well in extracurricular. So they look for that. So that will help them into entrance into university. A lot of our kids, a lot of young people now, you hear that they don't have empathy. They don't, there's something missing in terms of how they're relating with others. This is a great way to get them, to help them to relate to others and participate with others, participate in their community, etc. So there are many benefits in terms of the people getting involved. I'm talking about young people, but obviously the same applies to older people. When you engage in a extracurricular activity or a hobby, people are curious about it. You share, you talk, you communicate, you even bring people in, show them, demonstrate. So one way of passing that talent or skill off to others by sharing, and you benefit other people too. So yeah, there are many benefits, as I said. And I think what I'm hearing most of all is the whole aspect of self-care. You know, you sit down with your task or your hobby, your activity, and you're looking after you. This is a time when you're actually doing something for you. And even if you're getting paid, and some people are turning their hobbies into a job, they're looking after their well-being because that's what they love doing.
If I can just add it to what Lorna says, there's a saying, I'm sure everybody's familiar with it. It's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. And oftentimes by volunteering, you gain access to people you never thought you'd have access to. So think about it, when you're volunteering your time, who would you have access to? And I always think about never burn your bridges, and always it's a two-way street. Continually share information that is beneficial to both, and taking every single idea, thought, suggestions that you can, and make it into that lemonade. Make those limes into lemonade, because you don't know where that will take you. So if you have a chance to volunteer, please do that. Please capitalize on that opportunity. You never know who is going to be a CEO in the future.
It's true.
President, you never know. And I've
Yeah.
told many of my mentors that. Look at it as something you enjoy and do it. Just do it.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think really highlighting the importance of volunteering is extremely important, because I know that for me, a lot of the young people that I've worked with over the years, they often, you know, especially if once they're in high school and they get their, I think it's 40 hours that they have to get. So once they get their 40 hours, they're just like, oh, miss, I don't want to do any more than that. But it's like, no, I mean, yes, okay, the mandatory amount is 40 hours of volunteer, but if you get a little bit more, I mean, you never know where that could possibly lead to. Who you could be connected to, the networking, the pool of networking opportunities that could be open to you. And I think volunteerism is really very overlooked, especially amongst young people, because if they're not getting paid, they're not interested. So I think definitely changing, hopefully by, our viewers that are able to watch today's Fireside Chat, that will, sort of open up their minds and to the potential that volunteerism and having a hobby can really have. And
I think as leaders, though, we have an obligation, or it's incumbent on us to make those opportunities fun.
Yes.
So that they want to come back again. They just don't see those work.
Yes.
It's a hobby now.
Yeah. I can testify to that with regards to my volunteers at New Life. So I'm just so happy for two of them. So over the years, even both of them did their 40 hours. But apart from that, like my daughter, she's always volunteering. She's always around because you have no choice. You have to help mommy. But this year we actually asked for the summer jobs, and these students, I just noticed the passion which they cut the fabric, the media. I mean, they just like took over. And in those days, it is as a leader, you're tired. When somebody takes those burden off you, are just like, yes. But then the passion, the diligence, so we did put up the application, as it says, for summer jobs to everybody, right? So, and unfortunately for most of the people that came in for interview, they didn't have the sewing skills, which was one of the requirements, for the production. But then also for the admin, we did do a fee or whatever. But at the end of the day, some of those volunteers got the job. So they came in for $0, and now they'll be paid from 3rd of April, from 3rd of, sorry, July for $15.50 till the end of August. So, I mean, I was like, I used to tell them, in general, some of them don't take their work serious. I'm like, you know something? If I was going to charge you to teach you, it's $40 now. So you better what you're learning now, take it very serious. And some of them did, and some of the students are the ones who actually. So as we say, we have to also not only invest the time, but in hobbies at times, because some of them say, I love to sew. I say, you love to sew, but I don't know how to sew. I say, okay, I'll teach you more how to sew. So at the end of the day, guess what? Their passion for sewing, and they will go home and practice. They love doing the tell me how relaxing. Guess what? It paid off. They are now earning something. So, which is at the end of the day, I think knowledge also is important in hobbies. So you try to gain more knowledge. It's an hobby, but try to do it well.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
diligence, you have to also invest in terms of, I had to go to learn to sew at a point because I was doing it for fun, but then I'm like, no, they'll sue me if I spoil their clothes. So I had to put some time into, investing some money. Knowledge is very important, even with hobbies, even though there are some hobbies are for fun, but you have project-based hobbies. So project-based hobbies will invest some time in research. We also invest in time, in getting more knowledge, but at the same time, also planning is very important. So it comes to a level when the hobby becomes a little bit really serious, but at the same time, you're having fun.
Yes, yeah. And I like what you said, Brenda, about, treating, even though it may be volunteer, treating it as though it's a paid job.
Yeah.
And, you never know where that may lead to. That may lead to a paid internship, a paid job. So I always, tell all the young people that I work with to treat every opportunity as though, even if you're not getting paid, still show up and present yourself in a way as though you were getting paid. Right? Because it really, really speaks to your professionalism and your character as well. And also too, you could also use your volunteerism as a reference.
Yeah, reference.
A reference down the line. So always treat that as though you are being paid, and conduct yourself in a way that you are as though you were being paid. So I just want to move along to our next question for Miss Donna Jones-Simmons. So my next question for you, Donna, is why is volunteerism so important to you?
I started off in high school, that is, with a group who decided they were going to form a club. And the club essentially was a social, economic, educational type of group. And initially I was kind of reluctant to join, but I joined anyway. And then we got into fundraising, and we decided to wash cars on a volunteer basis. And the money we got from washing cars, charging people to wash cars, we put it aside and donated the money. That was my inspiration and my understanding of how important volunteerism is. What that funding can do for our socioeconomic individuals who are not as sound in their financials as it can be, what it did for them. Help to, pay for the uniforms, for example. Now I'm dating myself now because many kids, I'm sure, don't wear uniform, but it helped pay for the uniforms. Volunteerism is important because today, all that knowledge that I accumulated, I was a volunteer at, for example, an organization called Sketch, which is for homeless youths, but they're all artists. My experience gained from being on the board for ELDEL, for organization called Dialect, for Access, which is for new immigrants to Canada, and now on the board for the Rotary Club of Toronto. All that knowledge I gained, I didn't realize I was accumulating that knowledge. I had no idea. And that people were watching what I was doing. I'm going, how did you know that? We saw your work. We heard about you. So, but it's the importance for me is that idea of giving back. So today, as co-founder and co-author of 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women. Myself, the co-authors, Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine and Dr. Denise O'Neill Green, we don't take a dime from the work we do for the organization. We volunteer our time 100%, but we see the benefits that it has had on the women or in our database, our honorees. Many women have come back and told us, look, I found a job, or somebody is wanting me to come and present or be a keynote speaker. So the importance is, you can't measure that. It's immeasurable because it impacts people in different ways. But then you see when they come back and they tell you, this is how it made me feel. This is the impact it had at my organization. I remember one person was honored last year, and she says, I'm a lawyer, but I've never been recognized before. And now even the security guard comes up and he speaks to me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So we volunteering, doing this work, it's a lot of work. I'm not gonna say, it's not, it's a lot of work, but it's good work. It's work that I thoroughly enjoy. I don't know how I'm gonna pull myself apart from doing this work and having to be the vice president at a big organization like the Rotary Club. But somehow, some way, I'm gonna make it work. But it's important that the work carries on. The momentum is there, the energy is there. We gotta keep doing this for our young people.
Yes, absolutely, Dominique. I think, yeah, in 2025, when you become the president of the Rotary Club of Toronto, you definitely will have your hands full. Absolutely. And I think just want to touch on a few things that you mentioned. You spoke about the importance of giving back, and that especially when you're volunteering, in the instance you may not get that instant gratification. But over time, it will come back. And, as you mentioned about 100 ABC, creating a platform for Black Canadian women to really be able to network and also to showcase their talents, and as you mentioned, one of the honorees who's working as a lawyer, she'd never been recognized before. And 100 ABC was kind enough to give her that recognition. And now, I'm sure that, after, receiving the award, a lot more people are taking notice of who
Absolutely.
she is and the work that she has been doing. So
And capable of doing.
yes,
And capable of doing.
yes, absolutely. And again, all of that comes from volunteerism and working on something that you're really very passionate about.
And when we're selecting our honorees, just so that you know, we look at their volunteer work. What have they been doing for our younger generation? How are they giving back? So that's important.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So I would like to move on to Brenda. So I have another question for you, Brenda. So how did you turn your hobby into a business?
Okay. It was a journey. It was a long journey. So I already took the journey from school. And now when I actually got to teenage age, the high school I went to also had the particular side of the hobby with sewing classes. So we had the culinary, what we call it home economics by then. And then you have the sewing classes. So you remember how you have to sew the whole dress with your hands, needle and thread. And it was compulsory, so you can't avoid it, right? So because I had a passion to create some things already, it was a flow. Because by then we were making dolls, dresses, selling it amongst ourselves. So my dad was a businessman, passed last year, but he instilled a lot of, business into us, So as I grew up, I realized that, okay, some of these things are fun. They're very nice, we sell them just among kids. But the idea of money making out of it came right there. Just because somebody handed me maybe 2 cents because, I sold my dress to them for their doll. And as I grew also older, I learned that I had more desire to learn new things. So one thing about hobbies, like you get to a level, you are comfortable with what you're doing, but then you get a thirst for new things. So I should say hobby comes in different. You have those casual hobbies. I just like to watch my movies. It relaxes me, blah, 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 you know. And you have all those hobbies that are called serious hobbies that, you know, you start from that casual, just and then you say, oh, when I watch this movie, I can interpret this movie to somebody else who never watched it and they enjoy it. And I just do it with fun. So that's when you get your hobbies become serious. So I got to that level up to my 20s. And when I moved from Sierra Leone to Cote d'Ivoire, working with an airline, because my background was French international relations, I realized that I don't care how much work I do during the day, I'm tired. I will always come back home and tie and die, you know, and the time that I'll make, they'll be so beautiful, married by then, you know, I was like, take it to the office and all my colleagues will be rushing to buy it. I was like, serious? You know, and I had the project by then, but it was in a small scale. So by then we were reaching to the women back in the brothels and helping them, you know, come out of prostitution. So in Cote d'Ivoire, what I did was like, okay, let me teach them to help me so we can have this as an income generating, you know. So we all got involved and we would do all these things. So I actually taught them where I could not, as I say, hobbies become also a form of investment. You have to invest. So I went down, imagine I went to, was like a local place, impoverished place. I would tie my wrapper, join them just to teach me, and I'll give them money to teach me. So you have to also go low at times in terms of learning. And I learned a lot from those ladies doing batik, tie and dye, creativity. And I'll come on, my friend will say, you are so serious about this. I said, I'm having fun. He said, you want to sit with all those people you are? I'm like, I don't care. People is people, you know. So at the end of the day, then I realized when we do this thing, the beauty of it, because one thing about also turning your hobby into money making, at the end of the day, you will even admire your own work. In fact, you will be wondering, did I do this? You come to a point when you've mastered skill, because there's another thing about mastering skill in hobby. So then your hobby becomes serious. You don't just watch the movie just to tell somebody about the story. You want to look for all the idiomatic expressions. So when you're expressing about the movies, they really get, whoa, 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 you know, that it's like they were the one watching the movie, you know? So then that was the same thing I did with my hands, you know? I would look for extra patterns, look for extra things. And when I would go to exhibitions, well, that's one of my secrets up to this day. People say, you go to exhibition, it sells so much because I don't do the ordinary. I try to research, I try to do it, you know, like a dress, how to make it a little bit outstanding. So then I realized that as I'm investing my time, developing my skill, the productivity in terms of finance is good. The also outcome of the appreciation from the clients is great, and they become repeat customers. So then, by then in Cote d'Ivoire, I had registered in Sierra Leone, I registered in Cote d'Ivoire, and just like here in Canada, the more we do it with seriousness. I mean, the more we share our talents and the more we teach others, because there's also another thing about RB becoming serious and project-based. You have to also have an outlet to give to others, because you get stuck when you cannot give what you have, you know what I mean? So as we taught other people, we grow in that. I found that now it becomes very serious and we registered it. And that's how when I moved as a permanent resident to Canada in 2014, in 2008, I came with a bag, 3 suitcases of products made by these ladies. It was such a product. There's so many products in there that brought so much finance, which was sent back home to help them develop themselves and also pay them for their work. So in 2014, I registered it here in Canada as a nonprofit, you know, and I use, instead of knocking on doors, because you can also use your hobby to help not only generate income, to avoid, you know, some limitations in business. So then I realized that if we do this well, we go to exhibitions, we sell, we'll avoid knocking on people's door for donations. So you basically win-win, you know, you buying something that we're making and we're also giving you something. So that's how I actually develop my my level of, you know, I would say now expertise in terms of hobby to this level, so that I can use it now, not only to bless myself financially, bless the organization, and also bless others, because I'm teaching a lot here in the center.
Yes, absolutely. And I like what you said, Brenda, about teaching others. And you sort of went into a little more detail as to what that looked like for you. And I think that that's actually very wonderful that, you know, you found your own hobby, your passion, and then you were willing to share that with other people in your community and sort of pay it forward, if you will, right? And then I'm sure in that process of doing that, those individuals that you were helping also, they themselves realized like, wow, you know, that they also enjoyed that, right? So it's kind of a way to give back and sort of, you know, pass along to future generations as well. Yeah, so I thank you for doing that, Brenda. So I want to move on to another question I have for Lorna. And I'll start with Lorna, and then I will also open it up to Donna as well as Brenda if you want to jump in on this question as well. So my question for Lorna is, it is said that having a hobby is beneficial to well-being. Do you think there's any evidence of that, Lorna?
Well, okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about when I retired. When I retired, after going to work every day, feeling productive, getting things done, I kind of felt low. And then also I thought about my last couple of years of working, and there were some times that were very stressful. And I'm thinking, how am I going to manage? I'm at home. What am I going to do? I don't have to get up to go to work every single day at a particular time. And sometimes I would stay at work till 8 o'clock. It depends, because I work with children and anything happens. And what am I going to do? And I found I was a little bit down. So I thought, oh, you know, as I said, I'm going to start sewing clothes. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do with these clothes? I really have nowhere to wear them anymore. I don't need them. So when I turned that around and started making these dolls, and you know, people wanted, just like what Brenda said, people made you feel great, and oh wow, that's great. And then you thought, hey, you did a great job there. The more I made the dolls, the less I had stress. It reduced the stress that I felt. It gave me a happiness factor. I got up in the morning and I was planning, this is what I'm going to make. I'm going to make this hat for this doll, or this bag, or the shoes. I had a plan every day. So for me, it was like making me feel worthwhile, in that I was productive. It was a productive leisure, which I call it, you know. It was my leisure, but yet I felt I needed to do something. It also kept me feeling disciplined. I didn't feel like, I felt, oh my goodness, I'm walking around in my pajamas. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to answer to anything. And I felt I needed to bring that discipline back to myself. So it helped me, because I'm very disciplined, it helped me to maintain that sense of discipline. And hobbies can do that, not only to me, for everybody else. When people engage in hobbies, it helps with that balance. So I would say work-life balance when you're working, but it also helped me with relationship balance, with making me feel grounded. I felt purposeful. I felt like I had a purpose. I needed to do that. I needed to feel in the morning, I have a purpose, I had something to do. So it helps you with a hobby, or as Donna talked importantly about volunteerism, that type of thing helps you to feel worthwhile, as well as you're doing something meaningful. It also, with the well-being, it helps balance that sense of not feeling like you've got something important in your life to do, or feeling like you're not worth it. You know, it helps you feel worthwhile, and it helps to bring meaning to one's life. Promoting mental health. I'm really a strong advocate of self-care and people promoting and people looking after their mental health. I think we take it for granted. For physical well-being, we can see physically when we're not well. We can other people can see it, but mental health is something that many people struggle with. They don't share. I mean, maybe they don't even know that they're experiencing that. So I'm seeing myself going down this rabbit hole, and I thought I needed to do something to bring myself up. And you know, that the making those dolls, as a matter of fact, I was also making jewelry, doing a whole bunch of stuff and things like this, like making this for my, my eyeglasses, just picking up some beads, picking up whatever I needed to do to, bring some meaning to my life. And also then other people see these and say, wow, I like those. Can you make me some? And I'm like, I just thought I made some junk for myself. And somebody looks at it and say, wow, it's something worthy for them to have. And when you hear people say, that's great, you begin to feel good about what you've done. So hobbies can do that. Again, mental health is a thing that people need to look after these days. And I really feel, and again, we're talking a lot about hobbies that we do with our hands, but we talk, Donna mentioned the other things, the volunteer, you can do, there's sports, there's reading, it doesn't have to be something that you physically do with your hands. It could be other things. You have to sit down and make a list of what it is you really enjoy doing and experiment. Find out what hobbies that can translate to and experiment. Maybe you try the first one and it doesn't work. Try something else. I've seen people, I've known somebody who actually was taking pictures of her children since they were babies and trying to figure out what to do. Then all of a sudden she starts scrapbooking, and the scrapbook looked amazing. And the sense of pride that she felt just sticking those pictures with labels and whatever imagery next to those pictures, she felt great. And again, now she's continuing it. Right. So it does not necessarily have to be a skill thing like sewing or crocheting, although I'm hearing a lot of people did that during picked up and made socks and made, and made hats and made sweaters for the first time and showing them off, showing them off to people, post, and then the feedback they get, that helps one's well-being. Thank you.
Okay, so last night I was at an event and somebody asked a gentleman, how are you doing? And his words were, fantastic. I went, oh, okay. And well-being is based on your perspective in life.
Yes.
It's what you want to get out of it and what you want to see in it. As a child growing up, I always heard my parents have this phrase, idle hands are the devil's workshop. I never knew what they meant at a very young age, but I learned afterwards, if you don't keep yourself busy, you won't be able to say, I'm fantastic, because you're not doing enough to make yourself happy. So from a well-being perspective, can shift your mindset. Think about the positive things in life and the positive impact you can have on people. Do things that are positive. Take care of those hobbies, because it's going to be a positive thing in your life that's going to impact others. I also wanted to mention that in terms of getting hobbies, it cannot only be like reading books and doing things that you think are boring. It got to be something creative that you want to do. For example, I've heard of people who are very good with their hands. They've created robots. I have a friend, he now owns about 4 or 5 Lego stores.
Wow.
Just by playing with Lego from a young age. He owns 4 Lego stores. I said, well, what do you do with that? Kids love Lego. I didn't know that. Maybe you guys did, but I didn't know that. But it's all about being creative and pushing it forward, advancement forward. So it's about thinking about using that brain that we have to think about how we can further what we do. Or what we enjoy doing, I should say. What we enjoy doing, because there's a difference. We do things, which, oh my God, do I have to do it today? Do I have to do it tomorrow? Do I need to I can't do this anymore. Sometimes we do that, it means that we're not enjoying what we do and we're not enjoying life. We got to put that juice back into life. We got to put that juice into, I want to get up in the morning and just do that stuff. We got to do things that we enjoy. And that's what a hobby is, right? So in terms of the well-being, it impacts your mindset. Now, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. But when something good happens, when I make a positive impact, I'm telling you, those juices, I can feel it flowing. You know, I feel better about myself and I feel better about the day. I can move the mountain, basically, is how I feel sometimes. So in terms of my well-being, sometimes you're in pain or whatever, then suddenly, oh, you can jump to the skies because you feel good about what you do and the difference you're making. So from a well-being perspective, all about perspectives in life, how you look at life, how you think about it. Because I can tell you, if somebody comes to me on a daily basis, how are you doing? Oh, all the pains I've got, you know, it's so tough. It drains you, doesn't it? It drains you, brings you down. So you got to be much more positive. How can I turn this negative into positive? Now, this might be a pie in the sky for some people, but I'm telling you, we got to think differently sometimes too, if we need to go further in life.
Can I just say something, Donna? I'm just going to quickly say, because when you mentioned reading, and it, doesn't have to be something like it's not as exciting as a boring, like maybe reading. I will say that reading for some people is a great hobby because it offers them opportunities to travel through reading. It offers them experiences they would never have had. It offers them ways of changing one's perspective. Reading, that was one of my hobbies as well, and I loved it. I mean, so what I'm doing, just so you know, I haven't given up on the reading. I still love to read, but I'm cheating a little bit because every time I go to the sewing machine, I'll pick up a needle, I have my audiobooks ready. So I will go through my audiobooks. I will still do the reading, as at the same time I'm doing my sewing. So my hands are free. I don't have to hold that book, but I'm actually enjoying my second hobby.
My intent was not to degrade reading or to
No,
it's boring, but I'm just saying that some people may find reading boring. And
right,
for some others, they can't wait for the next book. You know, I have people around me, and everybody knows Oprah's a brilliant lady. That's what she used to do. She loved to read. People who read a lot are the most brilliant people that I found. Maybe others may see differently, but I found people who read a lot, they're so knowledgeable, so have such a deep understanding of what's going on, and maybe it may not impact them in terms of dementia. Just think about it.
Also, if I want to just add to what was being discussed here also, I think also we have to, for a hobby, you have to take your time to just really find what is exactly your hobby. Because a lot of people don't even know they have, you ask them, just like you said, you ask some people what is their hobby, they say, what is my hobby? Just because they never saw what you're doing with ease, makes them relax, the stress goes away. They never considered it as an hobby. And there are times, for example, I have some people that watch them, and the way they're doing the thing, each time I call them, they don't even realize it's something they like. But every time I'm just doing it, then I would so at times it takes me to call them to attention, say, you know something, that's your hobby, right? Say, yeah, I love doing it. But they don't know it's a hobby. And then later I will say, I'll help them. Do you know that thing also you're always saying it's tough financially? Do you know the way you do it for me right now is something you can turn around and you can use it to also, then it's like their eyes like, so I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. So at times some of the hobbies that we have, which we are also deriving satisfaction from, at times it takes another person to really call your attention and say, oh, that's your hobby, you love doing it, and each time I call you, you're looking forward to it. You always, just as Lorna said, she's always looking forward to the next work to be done and creating ideas. At times I go to bed, trust me, I'm like trying to sleep, and all these ideas is just flowing. I'm like, okay, I need to get up and write them. But then you're always eager to create something new. So then the passion just to be creative, whether it's reading a book and analyzing it at the end of the day. You know, I think also we just need to come to the point where we realize that, okay, this is an hobby for me.
Absolutely. I think there were quite a few things that were mentioned answering the last question around hobbies and well-being and all of that. I think really and truly, I think a few of us sort of hinted to this, is really just asking yourselves, you know, what are you good at? And just maybe just starting from there. Because I think, especially at least from my experience working with young people, for an example, is that oftentimes, you know, they'll say to me, they'll be like, oh, miss, you know, I'm not really good at anything. And I find that hard to believe. And I always say to them, no, I don't think so. I think you really just have to dig deep and really just think about, you know, what it is that you enjoy, because we're all good at something. It doesn't matter how big or how small, but I think each of us, we have our own creative areas that we are strong in, and it's really just an opportunity to tap into that. So that's usually a perspective that I take when I'm working with young people, is I just try to, you know, there's got to be something that you're good at. So really just tapping into that, I think is really, really very important. And I want to encourage our audience as well, you know, if you have any passion or hobbies, you know, to feel free to add that to the chat. You know, really just sharing, you know, what your personal hobbies are. I think, Walda, do you have something you'd like to add? No, maybe not. Okay, no worries. So yeah, I mean, if there's nothing else, if there's any last words that our panelists would like to add as we sort of close out here.
I just want to say a hobby is not work. And I see Waldo wants to talk in a second, but I would say work is work. If it's work, it's work. If it's enjoyment, it is a hobby. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah. And I would like to add that this day and age wherein mental health is something else, if there's something that can make you come from work and just keep doing it, because that's the first thing, a health, mental health, or well-being, self-care. So I also have one of my hobbies, general hobbies. When I come from work, I just want to watch that series. That will take me months to finish, but at least I take 10 minutes every day or 15 minutes just to see what's the next on the series, you know. So some of those things you do help me relax. So anything that will help you relax, anything that will help you relax, anything that will help you, you know, take care of your health, because money is important, turn it into money, but I think that's not the priority at the end of the day. The thing is about hobby is fun. It's helping you with your health, helping you to do a lot of things. So I want to just encourage the our listeners that anything that can take you off the stress of life, please just keep doing it, whether you're making money or not. It's very important.
I would like to say that because I see the stressful experiences young people are having, I care, and I know we all care passionately about them having successful lives. I would ask that people sit with the young people, help them to find out what they're good with, help them to find out what they're passionate about, help them to do what they feel good about to help them build self-esteem. Right now, our young people, especially our young Black youth, do not have, their self-esteem is not where it should be. So if we can help them to sit and look at what they can do to feel a sense of pride about, what can we do to help to raise them up, to help them feel a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. Whatever we can do to help the young people right now, I think it would be great, because they actually are suffering in terms of their sense of their self-esteem. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for all of those words of words of wisdom and encouragement around trying to find your hobbies and your passions. And I think Walda had, I believe she was trying to unmute herself. So just want to give Walda an opportunity if you wanted to say something.
Terribly sorry. No, I just was enjoying the production, the information so much. I think my finger got carried away.
Oh, no problem. No problem. No problem
I
at all.
thoroughly enjoyed it. And, you know, just congratulations to the speakers because it is so meaningful, you know, especially for somebody in my age group. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for being here, Walda, as well as everybody in our audience. Thank you for being here this afternoon. And as we close out, I just want to say thank you for being here, and really just want to encourage everybody to take some time to reflect on what it is that you may be good at, what some of your passions and your loves are, and to really just tap into that in any way possible. And yeah, just want to thank everybody. Just want to thank Donna as well for this opportunity, for being your moderator this afternoon, and our wonderful panelists. Thank you for being here and for lending your time as well as your wisdom this afternoon. And as we close out, just want to say thank you very much, everyone, for being here this afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
So much.
And see you on June 25th for the final episode, volunteerism. It's going to be exciting. We have a whole lot of volunteers on that session. So thank you. Looking forward to it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Have a nice day, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Look how far you have come on your own, but never alone. Through the rain and through the shine, here's your moment.